So if we're looking for the lowest common multiple of 12c and 6c squared d, what I like to do is factor both of them in a box like this. So we have 12c, 6c squared d. 12c would be 2 times 2 times 3 times c, and this would be 2 times 3 times c times c times d. Okay? And now I see different things on those two rows. And make sure you factor them all the way down. A lot of people stop at 6 or at 4, and then you don't see the commonality. But you've got to bring it down to prime numbers. So I see 2's, 3's, c's, and d's. Does anybody see anything else on those factors? Nope. What are the most amount of 2's you see? 1. On any row, what are the most amount of 2's you see? 2. So I have 2 of those, right? What are the most amount of 3's you see on any row? 1. 1. What are the most amount of c's you see on any row?
2.
Very good. And what are the most amount of d's you see on any row? 1. So when we combine all this together, it's 12c squared d is the lowest common multiple.
Seems easy. Oh, it's gonna get really hard really soon.
Never say it's easy. It's going to get hard immediately.
Yeah.
So that was number 1. Okay? They're not numbers, they're factors. So we're just going to find all the factors of each one. We're going to still build our box. And can the top one be factored at all?
By 2.
Yep, we can pull out a 2, and we have x minus 3. Those are the two factors of 2x minus 6. Got it?
Got it.
And here we just have x minus 3. Can't do anything with him. So here, I see what different factors in this table? I see what? I see 2's and an x minus 3. So how many 2's? What's the most amount of 2's I see on any row? 1. And what's the most amount of x minus 3's I see on any row? 1. So the answer is 2x minus 3. And you can leave it factored. Matter of fact, I want you to leave it factored, okay? What are the factors of that top guy?
T. And 5.
And what are the signs? Difference of two squares.
Plus and minus.
Very good. It's a difference of two squares. You have t plus 5 and t minus 5. Everybody understand that?
So with a big number, you have to factor it.
Yeah, you have to factor everything and see all the individual factors, okay? That's what you're doing with all of these today. You're factoring. So downstairs, I see a t plus 5. So I have t plus 5's and t minus 5's. Well, I see 1 t plus 5 is the most I see, and 1 t minus 5. So your least common multiple is t plus 5, t minus 5. Leave it in factors. So now we're going to apply finding the least common multiple, which is also the common denominator when we're adding fractions. So we have 3 over x plus 5 over y, which is number 7. Okay. And we're going to look at the denominators. What are the different factors you see? Can you factor x or y? No. So you see an x and you see a y, right?
Right.
That means the least common multiple of those two is xy. So this guy needs a y, and this guy needs an x to have a full set. He needs a full set in order to have a common denominator. But whatever you do downstairs, you have to do upstairs. So we're going to put a y here and an x here, because you can't do something downstairs and not do it upstairs on each of those fractions. So now we have 3y plus 5x over, now we have a common denominator, you only have to write it once. Oh, I did that wrong. It's xy. Number 11 says 12 over 5y squared minus 2 over 5yz. Okay? And if you want, have you ever been to Carowinds?
Yes.
Yes, but I haven't been on any of the roller coasters because I hate heights.
Well, I'm not talking about the roller coasters. Have you ever taken a 3-year-old to Carowinds?
No.
Don't do it. But if you do, you have to assign them to somebody. Otherwise, like you'll get to the water park and you go, where's Johnny? I don't know. I thought you had him. Well, I thought you had him. So somebody has to get him, right? Well, that's how I feel about this minus sign right in the middle. I'm going to give him to the 2 up here, and I'm going to make that a plus so that we know the 2 has him and we don't have to worry about him when we go on our roller coasters, okay? So we're going to build a chart with the denominators. We have 5y squared and 5yz. So we have 5yy and 5yz. So I see a 5, 1. I see y's. We need 2 y's. That's the most I see. And we need 1 z. Got it?
Got it.
That's the common denominator. So now we have to see what each fraction needs to complete his set. And we got to do that upstairs and downstairs. Okay? This guy here, what does he need? He needs a z. So I'm going to put a z here and a z there. My z's have lines through them. My 2's do not. And the second guy, what does he need?
He does not need anything.
That is not correct.
He needs a y.
He needs a y. Very good.
Oh.
So I'm going to add 1 y there and 1 y there. Okay? So now I just have a common denominator, 5y squared z, and upstairs I have 12z minus 2y. And I technically want you to factor upstairs if you can, and it'll be 2, 6z minus y, because sometimes you can cancel something at the end, but in this case you can't. So one thing you need to remember when you're doing these is that this is a package deal. If I were to have to multiply something upstairs and down, I need parentheses there because everybody gets it, okay? Not just the 2. So you need to remember that. Now in this case I have one fraction and then the 4 is not a fraction. But when I have one fraction, he wins. So I have to turn the 4 into a fraction. Just put a 1 underneath it. Very good. And if I have a denominator of 3 and a denominator of 1, what's the common denominator? 3. So this guy needs a 3, and this guy needs a 3. And now I have 12c. No, I don't. I have 2c minus 7 plus 12 over 3. Got it?
Simplify it down some more.
Yep, we can combine these two. That I will want you to do. So it's 2c plus 5, which is a package deal, over 3. And now all you have to do is look and see if 2 and 5 are divisible by 3, which they are not, so you're done. That is your answer.
So what problem are you in now?
I want to do number 15.
Is this like what, with like the Carowinds say, where you have to give the
Very good.
minus to someone?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give him to this guy up here, the negative 2. Got it? And I'm going to build my chart. And I have w minus 3 and w squared minus 9. W minus 3 can't be factored, so he's he. But w squared minus 9 is difference of 2 squares again, which you guys have seen a lot. So you should be good at this by now. And that's w plus what? And w minus what? What's this?
Plus 9 and minus 9? Or plus 3 and minus 3?
Very good, the square root of 9. Okay? So, in this case, that would be your common denominator. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite it as 3w minus 3 plus negative 2, w minus 3, w plus 3. I'm going to factor it. So the guy on the left needs something. He only has a w minus 3. What does he need?
He needs a w plus 3.
Very good. So I'm going to add them upstairs and downstairs. And now I'm going to do the math. So 3 times w is 3w plus 9 minus 2 upstairs. Downstairs we have w minus 3 and w plus 3. And those can be in either order. It not going to be wrong.
Maybe shrink it down some more.
We can do it more. So it's 3w plus 7 over w minus 3, w plus 3. And leave it alone. That's the answer. You can't really factor anything. We're going to do 21, but we're going to change the plus sign to a minus sign. N over n minus 3, we're going to put him in a blanket, minus 2n plus 2, put him in a blanket, and then n squared minus 2n minus 3. Okay? Now, when we assign that minus sign to somebody, we have to put parentheses around that 2n plus 2, because that minus sign is for everybody. So we're going to do that. If we don't have a parenthesis, you're just going to make the 2n negative, and that's going to be wrong. But the 2n and the 2 have to be changed. So now I'm going to leave this like this, n over n minus 3, can't factor him, plus, and I'm going to go ahead and change this, minus 2n minus 2, because you distribute the minus sign. Things with minus signs, guys, do them right first when you're kind of fresh, because it gets ugly if you don't do them right. Now downstairs we have to factor that basic trinomial. So what times what is negative 3, and added together is negative 2. How can I get a negative 3 when I'm multiplying?
Negative 3 and 1.
Negative 3 and 1, or negative 1 and 3? Which one of those adds up to negative 2? That one. Got it? So we have n minus 3, n plus 1. Make sure that's right, because if that's not right, everything else is going to be affected. So the left guy, the right guy has an n minus 3, the left guy has an n minus 3. Doesn't need anything else, right? But the right guy has an n plus 1, and the left guy doesn't. So we need to add an n plus 1 on this side. Got it? And we do n squared plus n minus 2n minus 2, all over n minus 3, n plus 1. And that, we just combine the middle two terms, so it's n squared minus n minus 2 over n minus 3, n plus 1. The top of that factors. What times what is negative 2, and added together is negative 1? Negative 2 times 1. So that top turns into n minus 2, n plus 1 over n minus 3, n plus 1. Do you see any opportunities?
Get rid of the n plus 1.
You can get rid of the n plus 1. That's why you have to factor, because every once in a while that happens, okay? And you get this as your answer.